Yeah. So is that the same with you?
It is actually, yeah. So it was a friend of a friend who was involved in the web business and heard about what we were doing. We sort of had a fairly informal chat actually. I should say that our sort of seed funding was made up of as friends and family bucket as well as the sort of angel bucket, so which made our sort of shareholders agreement, if you like. You know, there was different interests and different parties that we had to please. So yeah, friends of friends, and I'd say, you know, the process that we went through was to set out in plain English, you know, the way that the angel and ourselves wanted to cooperate before even getting a lawyer involved.
Did you go to heads of terms without a lawyer, or did you just...
No, not quite that far. I mean, whether you call them terms or not, we certainly drafted out, you know, the way in which, you know, informally within the emails, the way we wanted things to work before we sort of went down that path.
Okay.
So, I mean, to extract from that though, I think it's pretty common for people who get an angel investment for there to be some sort of pre-existing personal relationship, and for friends and family, people that you know, to be in there. And even if you're going out to a network, I also think, you know, often it helps to be referred into the network by somebody, because I think a referral tends, unfortunately, just to carry more weight than just emailing it to an unmonitored e-box, which doesn't really monitor except once a week when somebody pulls them all in.
Has anyone raised money through an angel network? Well, there we go.
Well, but I mean, but there you go. So,
yeah.
I know that the Cambridge Angels would have to be introduced by one of the members of the Angels before they'll actually even let you on the door.
Yeah.
There is no inbox of things. You actually have to develop a relationship with one of the Angels, who will then sponsor you in for their Dragon's Den night before, and then it's after that that they actually that's how they get to how the whole network actually sees you.
right. So I mean, so the lesson number one to learn from that then is that you need to, if you are after an angel investment, you really need to put yourself out a bit to be basically in the face of people that are angels, so that you can network away and build a relationship so that you can be introduced. Yeah.
This might be a little off topic, but typically, how much can you expect currently, roughly, for them to invest as a first round?
I think. Well, I think it's sort of. I think it all depends, but I mean, there's certainly, you know, £250,000.
Yeah, but you're not talking just one investor, right?
No. You're talking about You're talking. I mean, the angels get together typically, and they are a consortium. So you'll typically have your sponsor will probably be the lead guy, and there may be a couple of them who will take responsibility. You know, say you've got an accountant that's one guy, say you've got a lawyer that's another guy, say you've got a corporate financier. All these people, you know, in the city or wherever it is they happen to be, all have their own sort of expertise, and they will bring that to bear in assessing whether or not they want to make the investment, and before they go off and incur any external advisors' fees. But yeah, I mean, Sam's right, it's going to be a consortium of people, but you need to get introduced to that network. And the whole point of the angel, you know, like for example London Business Angels, is that they've got a roster of, you know, X number of people that are on there that are interested in sticking money in. And so you might end up with, I don't know, 10, 15 people putting between 10, 20k in each, let's say. But I mean,
let's hear from our angel. How do you meet your investees?
Okay, I've been trying to get a. Sorry.
We picked on you.
No, it's fine. Basically, I've been trying to be an investor since November, and I had difficulty in finding people because it's quite specific. However, someone approached me to invest in that idea, and I thought to myself, okay, I'll just go for it. It's like the first one, then you get a certain amount of development time, and basically the fees to pay for the person.
I think what we've seen from the investors, quite interested in terms of the people that are putting money in. But basically, I mean, the reason they're members of these networks is they've got cash sitting around. They want to do something with it to get a return. They are investing. It's basically a mini version of a VC funds. They want to spread their risk. They don't want to go. They want to bank their entire life savings into a tech startup that may not go anywhere. So they're spreading it across, you know, X number of companies, and they'll probably, if they're doing it in a thoughtful way, they'll probably do, you know, several deals a year to spread their risk. right? So that's sort of the angels' take on the whole thing, and they're definitely, I think, in the market now because other asset classes aren't really delivering, and they've got money which they want to park somewhere. So, but I mean, so that's interesting. So anyway, so you went through, you did a whole lot of stuff on email, effectively, to agree the terms. Then you went to see a lawyer, which wasn't us, so I'm gutted about that.
It was before we met.
Yeah. But no, so you go off to see a lawyer and they document it. And I mean, did you go through the whole? Did you do the whole hog? You've got articles, I presume, have you?
Yeah. We had standard articles when we incorporated the company, and then they were amended to sort of match the shareholders' agreement. So we probably had about 3 drafts of the shareholders' agreement, sort of going back and forth. The first was, largely close to the final version. It was just that we then sort of tweaked sort of terms as we went forward. And I think the whole process probably took certainly longer than I expected.
What did you expect?
I expected it to be closed in sort of 3-4 weeks.
Right.
It took a couple of months.
Okay.
What are the other time scales that people who've had investment in? I mean, we reckon we can turn something around pretty quickly if everyone is delivering. And I'm doing one at the moment where they signed the heads of terms last week, and they want to close it on Monday, which I think is a bit ambitious, but it's possible. But it's just going to be very hard to corral. So I'm just so interested to see what people expect it should take, and how long it should take, and how long it does take.
Mine took a year.
Right. Well, there we go.
Wow. Okay. Is that from having an angel and then actually closing it, or looking and signing?
No, it's from having an angel, but it was very much a kind of a personal kind of friend type of things, quite high profile angels, and so we didn't end up talking very much about the investment and tended to talk about lots of other stuff, and eventually got around to dealing with the investment.
Well, that's actually interesting, because what we've also, I mean, if you've got some of the networks that you're involved in, it's quite formal. Then there is this beginning due diligence, deal, document, signing, money goes in. It's all. But if you've got more of a friends and family type personal relationship there, we see people that are actually a bit more free and easy with their cash. They may even put money in before anything's actually signed in some form of loan. Lucy.
I was going to ask, when actually approaching modules like this, is there, I know there's a rule that you can't go out and say you can't sort of advertise to people that are investors signing.
Yep.
What's your advice? Because you can't put on Facebook
No.
On your status that I'm looking for, want to make some cash investing in talent. But so where do you draw the line?
Well, that Lucy, is an extremely good question. I mean, and you're quite right. If you do anything like stick it on a website, you are basically making what the law calls as a public offer. So there are 2 things which flow from that. One, you can't do that unless you're a PLC, which is a fairly straightforward thing to do, but you have to do it. You don't want to do that. It's a load of hassle. 2, so you should not put anything on a website like that. You are asking for trouble, okay? And the FSA do 2 things. They monitor, but frankly they can never catch everybody doing that. But they also operate this sort of telephone hotline dob me in type scheme. And we are aware. We had a chat with somebody that came up with something and sort of said, "This is what we're doing," and we weren't advising. We simply, I think, informally said, "Oh, it doesn't sound quite right to us," but we didn't do it. And we met them a little while later to discover that the FSA were on their case. They had received a letter from enforcement of the FSA, and for good measure, the FSA had obviously spoken to HMRC, who also had stopped the booting. So it's just not worth it. And if you are looking for pucker angel investors, I mean, they're out there. They're not that difficult to find. It's not that difficult if you sort of have a bit of a strategy to find yourself at an event where those sorts of people are going to be, or stick yourself into a program where you're going to be suddenly mixing with these guys. And we will do. This session is more about just talking about the mechanics of it, getting people in the room to talk about their experiences, a bit more freely. We are going to